respected community leader who spent years lifting others up and proving that your past doesn't have to define your future. Every episode brings real conversations, power testimonies, practical wisdom, and inspiration for anyone ready to turn setbacks into stepping stones. No matter what you've been through, loss, addiction, heartbreak, incarceration, disappointment, or life's unexpected trials, your story isn't over. Your pain can become the very thing that helps someone else find hope. This is where brokenness meets purpose, where healing begins, where lives are changed. I'm Mike Melton, and I invite you to walk this journey with me. From pain to purpose, because your greatest setback may become your greatest calling.
Good evening, good evening. How you guys doing out there? This is Mike Melton back with From Pain to Purpose podcast. I got a very special guest tonight, and I'm about to share this on his page so we could try to find his page on there. All right, this on there. Tonight, I got the brother Ed Forchion, aka New Jersey Weedman, in the building tonight, and we're gonna talk about things that's going on with him and see what his side of the story in this whole situation, and see if we could come to some resolve, man. So how you doing tonight, brother?
I'm all good. All good. I'm frustrated, but I'm good.
Yeah, your joint kind of
I'm
breaking up
frustrated.
bad. Is the Wi-Fi in there? Your joint breaking up bad.
Yeah. Go to what?
Yeah, try to do that. Yeah, his joint was breaking up bad. He kind of frustrated too, so I don't know how this is gonna go tonight. Brother, frustrated about what's going on, I can imagine. Maybe we need to reschedule or something like that, but he's definitely feeling some kind of way right now. Hopefully he go on the Wi-Fi, he could come back and we could get going. Meanwhile, September 14th, 2026, the book comes out, From Pain to Purpose. It's a story about my journey, man. Featured on A&E Cold Case Files, featured in Ebony Magazine, featured on 911, did the killer call. But this book will go into details of what I went through while all of this stuff was going on, man. So you'll get to hear everything and get to see everything goes from there, man. Pick it up September 14th. Also, From Pain to Purpose t-shirts are out. Make sure you grab one. Hit me up in my inbox. $20 in person, $25 to deliver. We got sizes from small to double extra large. From Pain to Purpose t-shirts, man. Let's go. All right.
All right. You hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you now. So you said you have a frustrating day, huh, brother?
I've had a frustrating couple months.
Wow.
Not even a day. A day doesn't count. I'm telling you, I'm several months into this. I might even say I'm 2 years into this once I get to telling you my story. But I'm
Indeed.
2 years into this.
So take us back, man. You're from South Jersey. How did you end up in Trenton, New Jersey?
All right. So it's a little trip. So I was living in South Jersey. As a young man, when all my friends was drinking OE and drinking, I preferred smoking weed.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was better for me. I didn't feel like it was a crime, all that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I went in the Army. I got out of the Army. I bounced around the country a little bit. And I ain't gonna lie, I ended up in Arizona. Weed in Arizona was like $300, $400 a pound. It was $1,000 a pound in Jersey. So I started hauling weed back and forth. That was 1990, 91, something like that. I wound up getting busted in 97. But between 91 and 97, I did very well. Very well. That was when, people started calling me Weedman and stuff. Because, on the streets there's a lot of drugs. And I wasn't into cocaine, heroin, or anything else, but I felt like weed was natural. Nobody's mad at the weed man.
Mhm.
That's part of the reason why I started calling myself the Weed Man. You
Mhm.
know, and like I said, I did very well. You know, I did. You know, I was able to buy houses, buy cars, all that. I
Mhm.
wasn't a street hustler. I wasn't doing you know, dime bags on the corner. You know, I was the plug, and I was
Mhm.
bringing back hundreds of pounds at a time because I had a tractor trailer. So I'd go
Mhm.
out there, say to Arizona or to Texas, and I would pick up a real load. You know, a real load of say
Mhm.
cantaloupes or cabbage or whatever. But I'd bury 300 pounds of weed in there, 400 pounds of weed in there. I'd bring
Mhm.
it back to New Jersey and bang it out in a couple weeks. You know. So anyway, I did get busted in '97
Mhm.
in Camden County by the High Intensity Drug Task Force. Uh, I'm gonna make a long story short. I
Mhm.
wound up off of that charge. I wound up getting a 10-year sentence, but you know how it is. I got out on a program. I got on ISP
Mhm.
about 2 years into it. But during that time, right after I got busted, I started publicly advocating for the legalization of marijuana. I formed the Legalized Marijuana Party and I ran for Congress and stuff. And I didn't run for
Mhm.
Congress really because I was going to win. I ran
Mhm.
for Congress so I could pollute the jury, so people could know who I was. I kind of went from a nobody to like this activist that everybody in South Jersey was paying attention to. You
Mm.
know, I was in and out of the Inquirer all the time. I was a Courier Post, Fox 29, TV3,
Mhm.
TV6. Everybody was covering me. Half of them thought I was crazy. Half of them thought I was going, talking my way into prison. But what really happened was so many of these reporters, so many people who felt just like me, I became their voice. I became that guy that was saying what they all thought. And and it worked for me. I got like at one point, I basically forced the prosecution to give me a super sweetheart deal, everything. I got caught with 40 pounds once and 13 pounds another time,
Mhm.
uh, and they intercepted a large shipment, but I didn't get indicted for that one. I didn't get caught up. I didn't have hands on that one. They intercepted it before I could get on the premises, so I avoided that one. But I caught I caught a few charges all the last couple years of the 90s, 97, 98, 99, like all 3 years I caught charges and I went to prison in 2000 and I got out of prison in 2002. I was at Riverfront.
Mhm.
But at the same time when I get out, 2003, I'm paying attention to what's going on in California.
Mhm.
So in California, they was opening up weed shops. They were treating it like medicine. It was becoming mainstream. And I was sitting here taking it on the chin, catching little charges, even though I was advocating and I felt like the public, the people was on my side, government types was not. So
Mm.
eventually in 2006, I packed up and went to California. And I had my little battles before that, you know, but to keep this story short, I personally was, back and forth with Chris Christie at that time. The same little battle I'm having right now with Mayor Reed, I was doing the same thing with Chris Christie. And at first he was the US attorney, and then he became the governor of the state of New Jersey. But I could call him up right now. He likes me now. He likes me now. But back then we were going back and forth. Um, I basically fled. I went to California where the grass was greener, and I mean
Mm.
the grass was greener. So I went to California, and I was there until 2013. Right at the end of 2012, the DEA raided me, and I did well in California. So I had two giant dispensary. I had one dispensary and two giant grow houses. I had a couple apartments, couple hundred grand, couple $1 million worth of weed growing. I was
Mhm.
doing very well, and I got into a couple movies. I was trying to do reality shows, and like I was living my Hollywood dream. I was enjoying life.
Mhm.
I was in Hollywood. If you Googled right now, you just Google NJ Weedman in Hollywood. All kinds of stuff come up. I was having mansion parties. I was doing commercials. I was doing TV. And that old saying about money don't grow on trees. Yes, it do. I was growing a lot of money and selling a lot. I was probably making 10 grand a day just selling weed out of my shop. I had a dispensary on Hollywood Boulevard. So I was doing very well and I was loving life. And then out of the blue in 2012, the DEA came and just blew me out of water. I woke up. I woke up in the morning, had a couple $100,000 and a couple businesses. I went to sleep on, I think it was December the 10th. I went to sleep on December the 10th and I had about $1,500 in my pocket. And my apartment was tore up. My business was tore up. The landlord in my business was telling me to get out. The two grow houses were destroyed, and the landlords in those buildings was telling me to get out too. So
Mm.
a couple months later, I ended up coming back to Trenton. I mean, coming back to New Jersey. Now, and at the same exact time that all this was happening, I was going through bone cancer. I had caught some
Mm.
bone cancer. So I was going through a health issue, and then I got all of a sudden I got a law enforcement issue. And uh I left. I left California. When I left California though, I left mad at the state of New Jersey because the state of New Jersey, Chris Christie's office, had contacted the US Attorney's Office in Los Angeles and basically told them to put me out of business. They didn't even prosecute me and keep me. They just destroyed everything. They took everything. They confiscated everything and left me destitute. And like I said, I
Mm.
had a business on Hollywood Boulevard. I was kind of like a little celebrity. You know, I was doing well. I was meeting celebrities. I was hobnobbing with celebrities. I was doing mansion parties. I was doing very well. And then bam, out of the blue, the state of New Jersey, six the US Attorney's Office on me out there. And you know, I'm gonna get into this a little bit. It was a rat situation. Somebody in New Jersey got caught with weed that they had got from me in California, and they basically told.
Mm.
And the New Jersey authorities, and it specifically did come from the governor's office. The New Jersey authorities did ask the U.S. Attorney's Office in Los Angeles to knock me out of business, and they did. They didn't even, like I said, I didn't even spend one night in one night in jail. They just
Mm.
destroyed me in one day. They did and even when I later when I found when I got all the paperwork, they've been watching me every Wednesday for like 4 months. Every
Mhm.
Wednesday. They knew my doctors I was going to. They knew my apartment. They knew my girlfriend's apartment. They knew everything. And once or twice, I got bad feelings about things and thought something was going on, but I don't know. I was comfortable. I was in California. It was legal there, and technically it wasn't legal through the feds.
Mhm.
Through the state, it was legal at that time, but the feds, it wasn't. So that was the feds. The DEA came and destroyed me. And then as I realized how it happened, why it happened because of New Jersey. I don't know, man. People thought I was crazy, but I went on this rampage that, I was going to act like General McCarthy.
Mhm.
I was coming back to New Jersey to fight, and I did. And if I had moved, say, from California to Sicklerville, where I grew up, would nobody have cared? If I went
Mm.
to Brown's Mills, would nobody have cared? So to answer your question, I came to Trenton, New Jersey to fight. Very high profile, in everybody's face, with the whole argument that you couldn't get 12 people to convict me anyway. I'm going to do what I was doing in California, right here in the state capitol on State Street, like I was doing in Hollywood on Hollywood Boulevard in LA. Now, that sounds a little arrogant, a whole lot arrogant, but that's how I felt because I was angry. And everybody,
Mhm.
like so many people, told me I was crazy, but then I also had all these other people that just supported it. They couldn't believe that this dude was doing this. He came from California and he opened up a shop across the street from City Hall and he was selling weed openly. And it it got very lucrative here too because
Mhm.
because like people came from all over the place. I was getting press, the news. If you Googled things like, NJ Weedman opens across from City Hall in Trenton, New Jersey, like the Inquirer, everybody. I don't know if you was paying attention to me back then, but
I used to
that's
see you. I used to see you, and I wondered what was going on with you. Like, which brings me to my next question: what is it about the weed that attracts you so much? Is it the feeling, or is it the lifestyle that comes with it? Like, what's the benefits of it that you wanted to push so hard for it to be legal, and you went so hard at it? Like, take me there.
all right. Well, everything you just said, I felt that way too, because it makes me feel better than say drinking. I
Hmm.
always felt more normal when I was
Hmm.
smoking weed. I
Hmm.
I mean, I tell people all the time now, my brain, my mind, I have 15 thoughts in 5 minutes. I go all over the place.
Hmm.
If I go to a doctor and tell them, and I have, when I was younger, I
Hmm.
did,
Hmm.
and they wanted to give you this drug or that drug, weed always worked better for me.
Hmm.
It always slowed my mind down. I could function. I felt like I could function better. Of course, the doctors and the system would tell you you was crazy, you was just a drug addict, you're self-medicating, but I never felt that way.
Hmm.
Um, I felt there was a freedom issue anyway. If this is what I felt like putting in my body, why can't I? I don't drink liquor, but liquor is totally legal and it's worse. I don't smoke
Hmm.
cigarettes. Cigarettes are worse. They kill
Hmm.
hundreds of thousands of people a year. I don't smoke cigarettes, but that's legal, and they want to put me in jail for this. So it was this whole freedom thing too. And I will admit that sometimes when I get obsessed with something, I can't let it go. And that
Hmm.
happens to be one of the, and as far as my life goes, that was the biggest obsession that I had ever had. I've had a whole bunch of little ones I could probably tell you about, but I had this obsession with making marijuana legal.
Hmm.
And I wasn't wrong, like I had that whole argument that I wasn't wrong. Like this should be legal. The law is wrong, not me. And go ahead, put me on trial. I bet you can't get 12. That's what I kept saying to everybody. All right. If still to this day, if you went on Facebook or on online and put the hashtag NJ can't get 12, you will find all these old stories about me because I would say it all the time. Well, go ahead. It's easy to arrest somebody. I get that. The police can arrest you
Hmm.
any day of the week. They can get a warrant from a judge any day of the week, and they can arrest you. But luckily, it's America, and they can't put you in prison unless you had your day in court in front of a jury of your peers. And I kept saying, you can't get 12. NJ can't get 12. Get 12. So over the last 20 years too, I will tell you, I've had 5 trials. I was guilty every single time, but I took every one of them to trial, and I got found not guilty 4 times. And one time, that first time, I took a plea deal, which I'll never ever do that again. But I took a plea deal the third day of trial, but I was winning, but I was still scared. It was my first trial, and 2 jurors were crying for me and got off the jury. The prosecution knew I was getting ready to get a hung jury, so they offered me such a sweetheart deal. I took it. And then, like I said, I never did that ever again. And because I don't do nothing else but weed, that's all I've ever been gone to trial for. I haven't had no gun cases. I haven't had no robberies or any of the stuff like that. It's just strictly weed. So you know, even if
So,
if I went to trial tomorrow, most of my jury would know who I was. I'm NJ Weedman.
so
And go ahead.
got a question. So, you right across the street from the capital city hall,
Right.
the capital of New Jersey. You had to know that it was going to bring some heat onto the situation, that it was going to cause some kind of problem, like you throwing it in their face. When did things start to happen that you knew that, all right, this is about to be an issue?
2016. I opened in 2015 here, April
Okay.
2015. So the first year, I pretty much got away with it. Everybody in the streets, everybody thought I was crazy, but the police weren't bothering me. And
Hmm.
you know why the police did start bothering me here? It wasn't because of weed. It was because of my hours. I was staying open late at night.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I got to slip something in here. I
Uh,
always been a nerd on top of everything else. I like reading. As a kid, I like reading court cases. When I did go to prison, that was when I got introduced to law books. So then I was reading law books. I started understanding things a little better. I wished at that point, I had wished I had understood what a lawyer was prior to me getting in trouble. Because prior to that, I didn't know what a lawyer was really. I just thought there was, that was the smart people in class, all that. Just like doctors. I always think of the people who become doctors are brilliant. And I thought that about lawyers too. Now, years later, I don't think that no more. I've run into a whole bunch of dumb lawyers, dumb prosecutors, people I think that I can think around, think circles around, and walk over them. But at that time, when I got locked up with the law books, I started reading them. I started understanding things. So in 2015, when I moved here, I had already had that background behind me. I was already reading things. I was already understanding. So when I got here, I started reading the city statutes and stuff like that. So I knew what time I had to close and didn't close. But the city police officers didn't. Somehow this city is a little weird to me. There's a whole lot of people who have been controlled here, and I'm not saying that to kick nobody, but this
mm-hmm.
whole city closed down at 11 o'clock. And everybody's always seemed to accept that. And I got here, I like, what? Huh? I started reading. I was like, that was one of the things I didn't even like anticipate. I had always been a night person, always, my whole life. I've had parties, I've been a promoter, everything. Even when I was in California, that's what I was doing. I was doing parties, I was promoting. That happens at night. I'm a person that even to this day, I don't like getting up in the morning until after 10 o'clock. If I have to be up at 6, I'll get up at 6. But if I got nothing to do, I'm sleeping till 10, 11. I walk out the door around 12 o'clock every day, and then I go on my day, and my day may not end till 4 in the morning. So as I open this business has a restaurant across the street from City Hall, and it had another area, which now is a dispensary. I called it the Sanctuary, and it was like a smoke lounge. But
Mm-hmm.
nighttime is where it's at, as far as making money. And the city statute at that time said 2 o'clock. Quietly, that's what it said. But what they enforced around the whole city was 11 o'clock. So right away, I started having problems with the city police saying they would come and tell me I had to close at 11. I'd say, no, I don't have to close at 11. They'd give me a ticket and I'd stay open. The next day, I get it in the mail. And like this kept happening. So I resisted. I filed some paperwork. I'd argued. At some point, they realized that I was right. And instead of patting me on the back and saying I'm sorry, everybody got attitudes to me. Oh, you're a smart ass. You think this, you think you're better. Like that was the attitude I got from the authorities. And I'm talking about the Jackson administration,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I got treated like somehow, and yes, as far as poking the bear and all that, listen, when I came to Trenton looking for a spot, the best place, if I could have got the better place, would have been one of them buildings across the street from the Capitol building or the governor's office. That would have been the number one prime spot. But all right, I couldn't. There was nothing there that existed there. But right here, when I found this building directly across the street from City Hall, the state capital of New Jersey, and the City Hall of the Capitol, like, man, I didn't want to be in somebody's little corner hiding. This was perfect, right out in the open. I could publicly argue this, like I came for the fight, and I did.
But so my question is, if most people that say they want to legalize marijuana say is they want to do it because it relaxes you, and you don't really see people going crazy with it. They don't want to fight. They don't want to do this. If you constantly smoking the weed like you say you do, why is it still so much anger towards the situation? Like, why not just have you a spot that was somewhere in Trenton where you could have made your money, you could have had the thing going on? Because once they legalized it, what's the reason to even fight anymore?
But you got. I'm telling the story right now. I'm still at 2016. It
Okay,
was
my
illegal.
bad, my bad. Go ahead.
It was illegal.
Okay.
And yes, I was in the face. I was angry 2 years before. I was living a life in California. And the next thing I
Mhm.
know, my whole life in California, my whole dream. Like I was living the dream. I'm telling you, I was living the dream. You know, I can't even name all the celebrities I was around. People were treating me like celebrities. I ended up in a couple TV shows and commercials. Nobody out there could believe that this dude, me, I went out there and opened a weed shop on Hollywood Boulevard. Out there was no weed shops on Hollywood Boulevard when I did that. I was the first one. I started having weed parties, everything. I had NBA Lakers come into my parties. Like I went from the dude that showed up to that guy in
Mhm.
like a year and a half.
Mhm.
And it was because LA also is very liberal. It's very open to ideas, creativity. People don't shut you down and treat you like a smartass just because you think outside the box there.
Mm.
Everybody thinks outside the box there, or a lot of people think outside the box there. Here, so they're not trying to kick nobody, but I find myself surrounded by people who can't think out of the box, who's never been 20 miles from where they were born at, who
Yeah,
who
I understand.
yeah, who
I
you know,
understand. I understand.
so being coming back here, I did feel a little I had something to prove. I was angry, like I said, I was living my life in California, and then all of a sudden I'm back in Jersey fighting a fight that seemed like I was the only one who wanted to fight and whatever. So Uh, but how they got me in court again wasn't even weed charges. My weed charges all have been dismissed. I didn't catch. Man, I could tell you all the cases I caught, but they all got dismissed. I ain't got no convictions for weed charges. But in this city, because I was beating them in court, like I really was winning. Like there's articles about that has nothing to do with all. With my, there's I was in law journals. Like this dude is he's a pro se guy. He represents himself all the time and he wins. He's got an impressive record. And I had an impressive record. And anyway, so I was winning everything as far as weed goes. And then the city of Trenton, we really got into a battle over my hours of operation. Now remember, this is 2016. On March 3rd, 2017, I was facing all these hours of operation charges. They wanted me to shut down. The Jackson administration at that time was treating me just like the Gus Euro administration is treating me now, but they wanted me closed. They didn't want me here. You know,
Mhm.
I could start dropping names of some of the people in that administration. You know, but I ain't even trying to open that back up. That was 8 years ago, 9 years
Mhm.
ago. So, but I
Mhm.
can drop names. But that was during the Jackson administration,
Mhm.
and it was like deja vu that in 2023 it all started again over my hours of
Mhm.
operation again, right? Not even weed. So between 2016 when I opened and the new battle that started here in 2023, weed became legal. Some people attributed to me. I know the snowball was coming anyway. The fact that people attributed me to pushing the snow is good for me. I can pat myself on the back, but I know the truth. This
Mhm.
snowball was coming anyway, and I just happened to be a little bit ahead of the ball game for a lot of people, so I was out there. And so people saw me like, oh man, that dude is arguing for weed legal. So when weed legalization came, so many people attributed it to me in New Jersey, but I know that's not really true. You know,
Mhm.
did I change a few minds? Yeah. Did I talk to a lot of politicians? Yeah, because I was obsessed with this idea of making weed legal. So it wasn't me just sitting here smoking weed in front of people. I was going to offices. I was talking to all the newspaper reporters and editors, even if they actually didn't quote me in a paper. I got so many newspapers and articles to push weed legalization stories. I would point out different things and cases and everything. And next thing you know, there'd be an article 2 days later. Sometimes I'd be in it, I'd be quoted in it. Sometimes but it was the exact same thing I was pushing. Like I was doing a really good PR push because I was obsessed. Senator Rice was a black man who was against legalization, but he was also in charge of the New Jersey. Oh man, what do they call himself? the Black Coalition, the New Jersey Black Coalition of the State Assembly. He was ahead and he was against it. I went and visited his office a few times. I started telling him about things. I really helped him, and he was an ex police officer who became a politician. So, and when I used to go to Senator Rice's office, I used to like show him, like, look what I put it in black and white to him. I said, look what the white guys are doing. They're making millions and millions of dollars. They done switched it. It's marijuana is the same thing. They're calling it medical marijuana. And somehow they get different rules. They get to sell it, they get to grow it, they get to distribute it. When a black man is going to jail, going to prison for selling it, distributing it, and it's the same thing. You just changing it. Well, anyway, that argument was persuasive to him.
Hmm.
Next thing you know, I had the New Jersey Black Caucus, New Jersey Coalition. Oh man, I keep forgetting their title. But it's the Black State Assembly group, and Senator Rice was very instrumental in changing everybody else's opinion on it because black people are naturally very conservative, and black people were, it's drugs. I mean, I have lots of family members who really, really are religious people. They
Hmm.
go to church every Sunday. They might
Hmm.
be in church 3 times a week. They definitely doing the Easter Sunday
Hmm.
play. Like I grew up like that. I rejected it for whatever reasons. We're not talking about that, but I rejected that. But I understand it.
Hmm.
I could walk into anybody's church right now and fit right in because I grew up in a church. I've visited churches over the years. So anyway, the Black Caucus was very conservative, and for me to flip that, and I can remember there were several white guys who were very liberal who were who were like, weed ain't never gonna pass in New Jersey because of the Black Caucus. They're against it. They think you're trying to put drugs on in the black community and all that. Like that's what the white guys used to say. The white politicians, when I would talk to them, there was a percentage of them, the liberal type ones, that were down with it anyway. And then there were the conservative type ones that were against it. But once the black coalition switched sides, the liberal white guy side had the advantage and legalization came, and smoking weed in public and talking shit and having a place across the street is not really where I attribute helping changing the weed laws in New Jersey. I really attribute it to my relationship with Senator Rice.
Hmm.
Um, because Senator Rice switched the switch and made weed legalization happen in New Jersey. You know, if I could give a plaque to somebody, I would give it to him because he really and was it coming anyway? Eventually, I think it would have, but like when it happened, 2018, 2019, when he got on board with it, weed was legal by 2020. You
So
know,
now, so now you
so
got the. Go ahead. Go ahead.
so weed became legal. My place that I had when I first got here, I was renting this place. But then I
Hmm.
started making so much money because now it's legal. All these people looked at me as a hero. They all come into my place. People came from here from all over the state. People in Trenton even didn't even realize. People would say, "Man, he got a lot of white people over there," but they was coming from everywhere: Asbury Park, Philly, North Jersey. I was having 200 and 300 people here every day. I was buying $75,000 worth of weed a week. I was making 200 grand a week selling weed right here. I made a few $1 million right in front of everybody. Nobody realized I was making that, but I was making millions. So I was
Hmm.
happy. I bought this building I'm sitting in right now for $800,000 cash. I paid dollars cash. Um, I renovated the building. A lot of people saw me renovate the building. That was $560,000 renovation, and I say 560 because those are the bills that I turned into the city for my tax abatement. It was 560. I rewired this whole building. I put cameras everywhere. I put air conditioners. The whole kitchen was redone. I thought I won. So you gotta remember that. 2020, I thought I won. I came here 2015. It was a whole fight. It was angry. The city put me in jail on a bullshit weed charge, a bullshit witness tampering charge. I sat for 447 days, and then I won, representing myself too, by the way, that time. And I got found not guilty, and I came right back. When I got out, It was May 24th. There's a whole lot of people was in jail with me and say, yo, he was always in a law library. He had books and every I was man, I represented myself, so I had to do what I had to do. But when I got out on May 24th, 2018, I was $30,000 behind in the rent, but for some reason my landlord thought I was gonna win. He was one of the few people who thought I was gonna win, and my girlfriend at the time, she thought I was gonna win. And the landlord, I told him, listen, just don't kick me out. While I was in jail, I kept getting these messages of, I'm going to win and I'm going to come back and I'm going to catch up on the rent. I knew I could make the money. Weed sells very well. So I get out. I'm $30,000 behind. And within, I don't know, 6, 7 months, the $30,000 was paid. And I started banking money. I started hiding money, boxing money, whatever. And in 2020, I paid for this cash. Um, I got, like I said, I got internet famous. People all over were coming here. I was on people's bucket list, everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the people of Trenton, I think there were some people who realized what was going on, but really, a lot of people wasn't really paying attention. I was the little quirky guy downtown, you know. Um, I caught me a couple little issues, fire extinguisher issue, the
I
weed,
remember
the
that.
weed, yeah, the weed charge. I caught a
Mm-hmm.
couple of those things that I don't even try to bring those up no more. But
Mm-hmm.
in the meantime, weed became legal. I became a millionaire sitting here,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt like I won. I took $2 million to Miami and opened up a club in Miami. And I ran the club in Miami for 3.5 years. And I closed the club in Miami in October, oh sorry, November of 2024. Okay. And I closed it. The city of Miami never did me wrong. The state of Florida never did me wrong. I had no issues with the city or nothing, no issues like that. But me and the landlord, the building I was in, he started counting my pockets. I was paying $31,000 a month for rent. When it came time to renew the lease, um, he wanted a 20% increase in rent. He was watching the celebrities that were coming to my place. I was having Love and Hip Hop Miami coming there. Sometimes they filmed. VH1 was in there. All these celebrities, like I can't even name all the celebrities that were coming in there. So I was doing pretty well. Um, and then I had a series of issues towards the end of 2024. Most of them were related to the landlord. So basically, I just left. I told well, I put a 90-day notice in the last couple of days of August and told him I'd be out by November. And in November, I
Mm-hmm.
was out and I came back here. Now I was going back and forth here. What was going on at that time? Now I'm in Florida. I'm doing well. Making money at nighttime clubbing, being a PR person. And my club down there was called the Joint of Miami. You can still Google it and still YouTube it. It's there.
Mm-hmm.
So and it was called the Joint of Miami. I was doing well. So, and I have this joint here in New Jersey. To me, I was a businessman now, like successful too. Like, I wasn't, I had a couple $1 million and I had assets. I bought assets. Right now, I will admit, I have very little cash right now, but I'm still a millionaire in assets. I bought things. I got
Mm-hmm.
things. I acquired things when I did have the cash. So when I came back here, the one thing that's always bothered me about here is Trenton closes at 5 o'clock. You can't. I'm a restaurant downtown. If if the city workers aren't patronizing me, I'm not doing well anyway downtown. Um, and then at 5 o'clock, it just dies.
Mm-hmm.
You might have a few people grabbing sandwiches 8, 9 o'clock, and that was just my experience. I've gone to different restaurants around the city, and they do well in the hoods. Some of these seafood places, some of these chicken places, some of these soul food places, these African places in certain neighborhoods in this city do well. But my location downtown was not being lucrative. If I didn't sell weed, I would have closed this restaurant. Would have been closed years ago.
Mm-hmm.
My weed money has always taken care of me. And this has been since the 90s. It wasn't really nothing new to me. I was doing what I've been doing for 30 years at that point. But so my weed money was taking care of everything anyway. I was paying bills, I was buying buildings, I was doing all that. And I bumped heads with, it started with Wesley Bridges, the city attorney.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I can get into every accusation I made about him, but if you wasn't following it, it's going to just sound like a whole
I
bunch of shit.
remember. I remember all that stuff came
Yeah,
out, and you sent me the email of that he sent you when you was dealing with the situation. So I have that email too. You know
right.
what I
So
mean?
but I was having all these issues, and then he's trying to close me. The mayor's not feeling this whole entertainment district. Oh, that's another thing. I didn't create the entertainment district. The at the end of the Jackson administration, the Jackson administration created the entertainment district. When I got out in 2018, he did that in 2017. I read it, I understood it, and I really felt ironic. How ironic! I ended up going to jail for 440 days, 7 days, fighting the city of Trenton over hours of operation, and now they create this zone that you can be open for 24 hours. So I really remember feeling a little butthurt about that. But as I was making money, I I didn't think it was a good idea at the time to open up a club in Trenton.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, I had bigger ideas, bigger plans. I almost went back to LA. Instead, I went to Miami and I opened a club in Miami. And like I said, I did well for a couple years.
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple. My issues were with the mayor. I mean, not the mayor, the landlord there. I was having I ain't gonna say I was having money problems, but keeping up a place in Miami, keeping up a place in New Jersey, flying back and forth, you know, at some point I decided to make a choice, one or the other, and I chose Trenton. So many people said, "Man, why'd you do that? You should, man, I'd have stayed in Florida and had somebody else running this place or whatever." But anyway, I came back here and closed the place in Miami, and it seemed like simultaneously as I did that, you're talking November of 2024. As I closed my place down in over there, over here, I win the issue of being open 24 hours. Prior to that November email that you have, I got a whole bunch of hassles back and forth from the city. And basically, like I said, it started with the law director, Wesley Bridges. At the time, I still was able to communicate with the mayor.
Mm-hmm.
And so the mayor wasn't down with the entertainment district being open late at night. So they
Mm-hmm.
both, there was, the administration did not want me to be open 24 hours or late. I could read. I saw the rule of law. There was nothing they could do to stop me. And that irritates people. That bothers people when they're in power and they look at you as a big mouth, non-educated, smart ass. When I feel I am smart, I'm self-educated, and yeah, I can speak for myself. So that's how that's how I take it when people take me that way, right? So as I'm fighting or pointing out or showing the rules and showing the laws, saying I'm right, and I very rarely take up an argument that I think I'm wrong on. I told you
Mm-hmm.
I get obsessed with things. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
something to come at me, and I'll look at it. And if I don't think I can take the winning side of it, I just leave it alone. So what?
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow ain't nobody gonna remember it but me. And I
Mm-hmm.
leave it alone. But there are other times when I look at something and be like, oh no, no, they wrong. Oh no, this is right. Oh no, I'm right. And then I can't let it go. You know what I mean? No matter how many times they come at me, I'm not quitting. I'm not giving up. I'm still gonna speak. And that's what happened with me and the Gasiura administration. And it really started with me and Wesley Bridges, then the mayor, the name calling, the sideways arguments, me posting shit about them
Mm-hmm.
and showing I'm
Mm-hmm.
right. All that happened, you know. But the crazy thing that happened, and I publicized the whole time. The mayor pulled back the police. And by December of 2024, I was arguing publicly, loudly, that, because I won with the hours of operation, I filed a suit against the mayor, and I was right about everything. Filing a suit against the mayor, right then and there, I probably would have took a quick settlement and kept on moving. But it just turned into a pissing match at that point. The mayor
Question.
retaliated.
But
Yes.
I got a question first.
Mhm.
When you was fighting to get these hours to make sure that they couldn't shut you down because of the entertainment district,
Mhm.
in terms of you selling marijuana, I don't know if you had alcohol or, but people that's probably going to come there that time of night, they're going to probably be intoxicated or drinking alcohol. Did you ever have any concern of the safety of the people during that time of night, in terms of, because I know, like you said, Trenton usually shut down at 2, but some places they will make close at 11. So when you extended those hours, if you opened up till 4 or 5 in the morning, did you ever take in thought of, I don't know if this is a place that can handle, this is not Miami, I don't know if this place can handle that kind of crowd or that kind of safety or anything like that? Was it any kind of safety concern in your mind when you was making that decision?
Yes. And that's part of how I ended up bumping heads with the state, with the city, I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
because I had security in here. You can
Okay.
talk to any one of the thousands of people who came here. Yeah, just like any place. Was there a scuffle or two in here before? Yeah, it was. Like, but it didn't become, it wasn't fights in here every week. It wasn't people getting stabbed in here. None of that stuff. None of that stuff that would
Mm-hmm.
qualify as a nuisance
Mm-hmm.
establishment. None of that happened inside. Yes, we caught plenty of guns, plenty of knives, plenty of them little hair pokers the girls carry. Caught plenty of them at the door. I would all I ended up having too many securities here sometimes. You know, that to me, money wise, if I pay two guys to be at the door and pay them $200 a night and $400 for security, $500 for security, I'm happy. But because of, like you said, there's 200 people in here, from all parts of the city. I gotta make sure that this stays cool. So I'd have like 8 of them in here, all
Mm-hmm.
getting paid a couple $100 a night. It came out of my pocket, Instead of getting away with paying $400, $500, I was paying $2,300 a night. But yes, if I charged $20 at the door, 200 people came in, bam, it's $4,000. Sometimes it'd be a little bit more than that. So, but these were business decisions, and my argument came in to play with the city is because they pulled all the police from outside. Anybody comes here knew that you come here, there's no police outside. You can go anywhere else and there's police outside. These same people would leave Cooper's where there's 8 police officers out there, and they would come here the after hour and there was none. They come from Philly where they had police officers assigned to the let out, and they would come here and there was none. But in 2023, 2024, there was a whole lot of cops here to shut me down at 2 o'clock. In November, when I filed the lawsuit in October, and right away in November, the city acknowledged that I was wrong, and you're right. After reading your lawsuit, we can see that you were right. But why did I have to sue anyway? That's when everything got all sourpuss, because I could read and I understood and I knew I was right. I got obsessed with proving I was right, and then I did. And the you know, I can't help but keep talking about Wesley Bridges because that's where where I bumped heads. And you have to remember that was 2023. In 2016, 2018, when it was still illegal, I used to deliver weed to his office over by Riverview. He can't hide. I would never outed him prior to all this happened. Like there was a judge in South Jersey. I used to deliver weed to him. Like I got very popular with certain people, and he went from being cool. I ain't gonna say he was my friend, but he was cool. I was cool with him. He was a customer, and he was the municipal prosecutor. Like who wouldn't be down with that? All the little bullshit things I had. If anything, he had the conflict. I didn't. He dismissed all my charges during those time periods. That's on record. He dismissed everything that came my way. and I was selling him weed. I was smoking weed with him. So he was cool with me. That's how I felt. And then in 2023, when I'm arguing 2024, when I'm like, yo, I made a business decision to stay open until 6 in the morning, and I read the statute. The statute says I can be open 24 hours, and I'm doing it. Oh no, you can't do that. No, 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 you can't. Blah blah blah. Like, yeah, well, that's your responsibility outside. And I'm not saying I didn't care about people's lives, but I have all the receipts of every single email that I sent. At one point we stopped talking, but I kept on sending emails. And I kept sending emails requesting police coverage. Do you know when the last email I sent was about that?
Yeah.
May 15th, 2026. And my email is all about police protection coverage. Told him to get back to me. Like it's a matter of time before it happens. And then it happens 6 weeks later.
So
And then he blames me.
I got a question on that. You
Go for it.
so you have the give me the amount of gatherings you have. Like, so what do they do? They come Friday and Saturday going
Friday
into the
is
morning.
yes. It used to be at one point it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and sometimes Sunday.
So how
Okay.
many? So how
So
many? So how many outings do you think you had during that time period the without police outside?
um we're going certain weekends we ain't do nothing. So we'll say 45 a year, right? And
So
it was right
it's
at two
primarily in the
years.
summer, right? Primarily in the summer, right?
No, in the wintertime, everybody comes in. It's cold. In the summertime, in the springtime, it was about half and half. I'd have 200 people in here and 200 outside.
My whole
And
concern was the summer thing, what was going on with
that's what
people
happened.
outside and
And it's,
and kind of situation. So my thing
yes,
was in the summertime when people are standing outside and that's going on, how many of those gatherings did you have without the police?
40. I don't know. It was
All
lots
right.
of them. And
So
I'm saying 20 a year
so let's say 20, you had 20 without
every summer for
this
two
summer.
years. It was
Okay.
out there. Yep.
So as this is going on, you there's nothing going on inside you saying
No,
I
there
can't
was a
keep
lot.
doing this without without help outside. I'm not
Yes.
blaming you. I'm just trying to
Yeah, I
understand
know
where your thought process at was in this situation. So
that.
if you because if he come on here to Merriman, ask him these same questions
Oh, I get it.
consciously and morally, when you going to sleep at night and you thinking about this situation, is nothing going on inside of you saying, should I keep doing this knowing I don't have the support outside?
I I felt that I could argue my way into them doing their responsibility. That's how
I
I
understand.
looked at it. So it's like, yes, I think I can sleep. I don't think I have blood on my hands. I don't have nothing on my conscience. I and at the time as it was happening, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
think that. I'd have people, all these young people, and I say young people because a lot of people don't even realize how old I am. I'm 62. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So 40-year-olds, sometimes I call them young people.
I
So
understand.
so I have all these young people in here and they call me Uncle Ed. They call me, bro, Unc, all that. I'm feeling like a lot of these people was respecting me. They liked me. I kind of became like, I fought City Hall and won.
Mm-hmm.
I got people who like me because I'm the underdog. They like me because, I won, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and everybody is not crabs. You know what I mean? Like you run into crabs sometimes, people don't like you because of your success. Then I had a whole lot of people who loved me for the same exact reasons in this town. So a lot of them people were the ones that would come here. So I have several hundred people who like me here. Even the ones
Mm-hmm.
who are outside, they generally like me. And I was arguing to the city, to Wesley Bridges, to the city council members, and I have to tell you, every single email I've sent to the mayor or Wesley Bridges, I also CC every member of city council. Say they all have followed this whole thing. They used to talk to me, and I still talk to one or two of them, but there were several of them that used to talk to me. And then when the lawsuit and stuff, they didn't want to get dragged in, so they didn't talk. But they were supportive of what I was saying. I was in support of creating a South Street style entertainment district down here. And I will admit, I bought a building here, almost $1 million building. To me, this is, if they're talking gentrification, they're talking revitalization, I'm at ground zero. You know, when a whole bunch of Jewish guys come here, a whole bunch of Spanish guys come here and start buying up everything downtown, they turn it into the revitalization district, and 10 years later, people look back at it. I want them to remember the Weedman was the first one. He recognized that they were going to do this, and he got in there, and they gave him hell. You know what I mean? So the hours of operation was not created by me. The entertainment district was not created by me. But when I go to like Mill Street in Bristol, less than 20 miles from here, their nighttime, it doesn't go all night, but they have a robust nighttime. They have they have police officers riding motorcycles over there. They have food trucks, they have ice cream carts, they have all that over there, and they have all these shops over there that are they're catering to the walking crowd outside. You go to South Street. I lived in LA. I lived right off of Hollywood Boulevard. Hollywood Boulevard was like that. Melrose Boulevard was like that. La Cienega Boulevard. I can name 4 or 5 streets in LA that were like that. I just spent a whole lot of time in Miami. Second Avenue and Wynwood in Miami is the heart of the entertainment district there. You go to South Beach, you got Ocean Drive.
So my
I
question
lived in
is,
I lived in
I
Phoenix for a little while.
I
Grand
get it.
Avenue.
I
Yeah,
get it
okay,
that
my bad.
places, a lot of those places is tropical, and they have people go there for that. You get what I'm saying? So my thing
Times
is,
Square is cold.
yeah, yeah,
South
you're
Street
right.
is cold. South Street is cold too.
Yeah. So all right. So listen, what I'm saying is this: once you knew they wasn't budging, and especially after the first person that got shot,
I think
why
that was
didn't? And hold on.
all
Let
right,
me
all right,
finish.
all right.
Why didn't it click? Something click, and you say, "Listen, I'm gonna hold on. Let me get it out first. I'm gonna shut it down these hours until I get this thing done in a court situation where they have to have security out there." I ain't saying shut it down forever. I'm saying why didn't some consciously say,
I
listen?
did. I did.
Okay.
That's why I sent you that letter.
All right. So this
That
is
letter's dated November 1st, 2024.
so this right
And
here.
yes.
So on this, they say they're gonna give you police presence.
They
I
don't
didn't read it. I'm
oh,
asking you.
you gotta read it. No, they're saying that I'm allowed to stay open 24 hours. Now, up until this day, I had police saw anybody who used to come here tell you that for a little while there, they was coming here and shutting me down. They was coming here and closed. They was towing cars. There were so many of my customers got their cars towed during that time period, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm fighting. I'm arguing like, yo, I have a right to be here. Read this statute. Read this, that, and the other. I'm not closing down. You can charge me. Give me all the tickets you want. Let's go to trial. Let's go to court with it. Do you know all them tickets and everything is still pending? They never prosecuted me on nothing. You know, all this stuff you see in the paper, they have never prosecuted me on it. Why am I the one suing? I'm right and they know I'm right. This would be ridiculous in most towns and most cities, but for some reason, here in this town,
why do you feel that they're targeting what you have going on? Give me your reason on why you feel that they're targeting you specifically.
some people can't take getting their ass beat or winning or losing. And that's really what this turned into. I'm too invested to run to leave, and like even though lately I do say I'm leaving, but at the time I bought this, I had an idea that this is gonna work. They created an entertainment district, and wow, I got a building right there. I'm running with this. I could end up being like the fountain blue of Trenton. You know, when I was in LA, when I was in Miami, the biggest club there was Fountain Blue out on South Beach. You know, I was one of the bigger clubs in Miami. You know, itself. When I lived in LA, I admired the Clockwork Orange was a club in and the Geisha House. These were clubs in Hollywood. So here I am. I'm thinking business. I'm thinking I've invested into this place and I want to make millions out of this place. I want to be the cornerstone of this entertainment district. The city was supposed to have a whole plan, man. If you as a city, if you say, hey, we're gonna zone this way, then you gotta funnel support to it. You have to put support to it. You have to look for infrastructure. You have to look for business partners, people like as a business, as a city, and they zoned it as the entertainment district. I would have been trying to get all these places sold down State Street. Um, you know, they you know where the garage is on Front Street?
Mm-hmm.
You know all them buildings right there in front of that? When they built the garage, they gave them a easement. And you can, if you bought one of those buildings on a garage, right? Ask Ann Lebet, I think, or Sabet, or whatever her name is. The garage built into that contract to build that garage was this clause that all those buildings now became all their backyards were landlocked now. They couldn't get in and out. So they had to provide them parking, right? So how many people in this city know that there's free parking on Front Street? And what I had at one point, I had wanted to buy the building in 1921, um, East State for West State Street, and I wanted to turn it into a club. I was going to call it the Garage, and everybody be instructed like this is the entrance. You pull into the garage and you walk through this back gate, which there's a back gate there too. There's two back gates there built in that building because of that contract to get the building to put that garage there. So anybody who has a building in front has a whole access to a garage. So to me, it was a great business plan. Again, business plan. The owners of the building pulled out on that plan on me. It wasn't me. They still actually own it. So, but that was a plan also to make a club there in that building. And it's three
So
stories. It got an elevator and everything. So right here to me was it was a plan. It was a business plan. It was like I'd be considered an entrepreneur anywhere else. If I was a suit and tie white guy and I came to town saying that this is what I want to do and oh shit, you got an entertainment zone, they would have figured out a way to work with me. Oh yeah, Mr. Fortune right over here. We can have parking over here. Yo, there's a whole TDA parking lot right behind me
I
that
understand.
they won't
I,
let me use it.
I understand. Listen, brother. I was born and raised in Trenton,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
I developed the the number one basketball company in the country at one point for middle school, grammar school, AAU tournaments and stuff, right?
Okay.
I got they gave me the keys to Atlantic City. I could use all the gyms I wanted to use. I could use all the gyms in Neptune. I was using gyms in Maryland. I was using gyms in Philadelphia, New York, but I couldn't
Yeah.
get no gyms in Trenton. So I understand what you're
Yeah.
saying. No,
Yeah.
no, but listen to me. Listen to
I
me.
thought that was
Listen
so
to me.
weird.
But I'm also a businessman like you. I understand business. And I saw something interesting that you put on your page that I want to ask you about. So you had the video where, and this was because I did a video on TikTok talking about this, two of them. And the what I didn't understand was you showed the video of the restaurant actually being empty and it was 350 people outside. So
Yes,
now,
yes.
hold on, let me finish. Now,
Let's finish.
how how it's a two-part question, right?
Okay.
How often does that happen? And if that's happening, what is the purpose of being open if the people are not even coming in patronizing you? Because I run a business, I ran a business for years. And if
Hmm.
I knew that in these hours, these people are not actually coming into my establishment and I'm making money from them, they're outside. What's the purpose of me even having my establishment open?
All right.
Go ahead.
Now, I told you a little bit ago. Every summer, it was a split. People outside, people inside. Every winter is packed, right?
Okay.
So going into May, that's the in and out time. You know, by August, July, there are a lot of people outside, and I have a nice small crowd inside. But again, that was what I was recognizing. I'm several years into this now. I'm 4 years into this now. So that's what I recognized what the business pattern was. All right. But here's what happened in May. On May 10th, Mother's Day morning, this little imbecile, I call him ignoramus, he came in here. I have no idea. He stood out within 5 minutes of him being here, the way he was acting. I don't know if he was on something that was making him go fast. I
Mhm.
don't know what the hell he was on, but he kept on confronting people. So real fast, my security recognized that he's a problem, and they guided him out. On his way out the door, somebody who I watched the whole video from the time he came in to the time he came out. When he came in, he got into a whole face pumping thing with some dude. I even know who the dude is. He was regular. So he got in the guy's face for a second, and then he walked away, and then he did it to two or three other people, and then he got told to leave. On his way leaving, the first dude he did that to punched him because we knew that dude. He had never been no problem before. This guy came in acting like a nut. We kicked that guy out and let the old boy stay inside. And he was apologetic and everything. Right? So he leaves. The dude that we kicked out, though, all on film, he's outside, he's pacing back and forth. At one point he kicks my door and broke my door. I never fixed my door. This is on May 10th. He's outside for a couple minutes. The girl he's with, she was a regular, he wasn't. I saw her before, didn't see him before. And I didn't even personally see him because I was in the backyard. I wasn't up front. So I didn't see all this happen. And then he leaves, goes around the side of the building, gets a gun out of a white Jeep, and comes through the back. This is all on film. Every aspect
Mhm.
of what I'm saying is all on film. Goes to the back gate area, and he's in the one little area that there was no camera. You can't see him fire the shots, but you can hear him. You can see him go into that blind spot, and you see him come out the blind spot. All right. So, and he fires from the backyard, which isn't my property, into the building, and he hits three people. He just missed me. You
Mhm.
know. So, like, how can I cause that? That was just some nutty. He's lucky he ain't killed three people. He fired 7 shots. He could have killed 7 people. You know, I he had just got out of prison couple months before that. He had a body on him already. Like when he came here, he paid. He came in. Actually, the girl that he was with paid. He didn't even pay. He actually didn't want to pay, and she pulled out money and paid for him. Like we watched the whole thing. Why he did that, I don't know. But anyway, that's May 10th of 2026. They caught him all that. Yo, that scared people. People weren't coming. The concept of somebody shooting into the gate with all these people in the backyard,
Mhm.
nobody had thought about that.
Mhm.
So everybody took this place as a safe zone before that.
Mhm.
You know, like I could show you my bank accounts if I had to. If this was a court of law, I would show you
No,
my bank
yeah.
accounts, right? I was making money all the way until May 10th. And then all of a sudden, for 2 or 3 weeks, there was nobody here. Like they didn't want to be in this zone. Somebody could stand outside and shoot in. They caught the guy, and this slowly started. It was a few people starting to come back. But they was mostly outside. And that video I made the night before, if you listen to it, there's two things I'm saying. One, I don't have no customers. I'm not making no money. They're all outside. I can't force them outside. I can't force them in. You know, I was also said right at the end of the video, if you watch it, I say, and there's no cops out here. When something happens, they're going to be blaming me. And
I
24 hours later, it happened.
I heard you say all of that. So that's what brought me to the question as a person that runs business. And I know at certain hours you could say, listen, man, at this time of the year, people are not really coming in. It's not even worth the
No,
risk.
they were.
No,
Like I said, the year before, you gotta let me finish. The
no,
year
I'm talking
before, the
about
two years before,
after
yeah,
the shooting, and but business
it would have
change
picked
as
up.
yeah, business change as things go on. You get what I'm saying? So
That
I'm
that would
looking
have
at
that would have changed. It would have came back. It
yeah.
would have came back.
So I'm looking at the situation. And I'm saying to myself, I would have said, listen, it's not popping like this right now. The risk of something happen outside is too great, and I'm not really making the money on inside. So there's no reason for me to even be open in these hours. I'm not saying not being open at all, but those particular hours, if it's not profitable, it's not making no sense. So the other thing was after the person got shot, how didn't from your end and from their end everybody put all of the pissing match to the side and they pride to the sides and say, yo, listen, this is a whole nother situation right now. We got to come to the table and talk. Put all prides and everything to the side because lives is at stake now. Why couldn't y'all come together and have a conversation in the rooms anywhere and just sit down and say, listen, what can be done?
Okay. I believe I sent you a letter. The letter is
Mm-hmm.
dated May 15th, 2026, and it's to the mayor, it's to every member of City Hall of City Council, and it says
Mm-hmm.
exactly what you just said. I said in that letter, I'm sure you know what just happened on May 10th, on Mother's Day, that we had an imbecile. I said an ignoramus came in here
Mm-hmm.
from outside and fired shots in here. I'm very confident that if there was a police patrol outside, if the whole neighborhood, the whole community didn't get they all knew what was going on and there was no cops. So the
Mm-hmm.
bad guys know there's no cops here, you know? So you ask me, like I got criticized for saying that the mayor created a kill zone at City Hall in a city that he knows is dangerous, in a city that we all know is dangerous, right? He made a no police zone because he was pissed off at me. That should be that should be what people are mad about, or upset about. And I'm just not saying you're mad about or upset, but that's what the mayor did with the power of the mayor. I don't have the power that the mayor got. And then I make a little business decision. I either make money or I lose money. I couldn't go out of business by making a wrong decision. You know, he he does all these. He has his $140,000 job and he gets paid no matter what. He has a city budget that things get done no matter what. I make a wrong business decision, every one of my employees suffers. I have made decisions and then still had to pay. I still, because it's the type of guy I am, I still paid my employees. This last time, it's man, things got rough. My employees have took a hit again. This time I can't cover it. So I feel bad about that. But you have to understand that the mayor, and then he went on TV and basically said what I've been telling people, what's been publicly been displayed for the last year and a half, that there's no police down here at nighttime. And it's almost like he wants something to happen. And when it happens, he gets to blame me. It was like last year. If you was a competent police director, now I'm not even going to talk about the mayor and his pettiness and his zesty revenge. Now I'm going to talk about the police director. The police director, following this petty guy's bullshit, it's like he's violating his oath as a police officer. He's supposed to be a peace officer. He's supposed to protect the citizens like equally. You can't. What if he decided one day? What if somebody decided one day they was not going to provide police protection or any patrols or anything, say on Stuyvesant or on South Broad Street, or one of the, just pick a city, just pick a street that you know of, and just say, what if the police had an open, or the mayor had an open beef with somebody on that street? So then the police chief didn't put a plan in place either. Like how? Like, so how could how like that should be obnoxious to a city police chief or city uh public safety director or whatever they call it here. If you went to Philadelphia or any other city around here and you talk to their police chief, I bet you the police chief would never say, yeah, the mayor made me not do this. No, I have to have a safety plan. I have to, it's going to happen no matter what the mayor thinks. That's what
Uh,
I think most police chiefs would think that way. But because I was pushing this whole entertainment district, I was pushing 24 hours, I was articulating these things. I was sending emails, and I had put my stamp behind it by investing in the city plan. Like I really felt like I should be able to put. And then hundreds of people are showing up. There is a need for this. They're not showing up just because Weedman said, "Hey, I'm over here farting. Come on down and smell it." That's not what they came here for. They also got sold on the idea that this is a yo, you can come down here until 4 or 5 in the morning. You can act so that was happening too. If I was a police chief, why wouldn't I put two police cars down here? Why wouldn't I? You know what they did? They put two shot spotters down here. I complained bitterly about that. I said, first of all, when you first put it there, I thought it was kind of intimidating to me, but then okay, I got it. Now you get to record everything that happens, and there is a little bit of safety that. But you know what? And I got the emails that say it. I say, but what we need are cops. We don't need shot spotters. We need cops. Cops stand for constables on patrol.
is
So
there was there a way of setting up a situation, right, where that those particular hours you were closed, right? But listen, hear me out first, right? You take them to court, you fight out this situation, and then you were able to show how much money you made during those hours when you
why would I take a
before you.
hit like that?
No,
Why would I? What?
I'm getting there. I'm getting there, brother. I'm getting there. I'm asking. I don't know about the law. I'm asking you a question. So then once they said that you won, that they should have had the patrol there, that they had to pay you for all that time that you lost money.
All right.
Is there any kind of situation like that
Yeah,
that could have been worked out?
you're not hearing what I'm saying. I filed the lawsuit on October 10th, 2024. It's been 2 years. The system is fast. The system is slow. I am winning. I have already won. I don't know why the city is fighting me. I am allowed to be open. I'm allowed to be open. They have to provide protection. But the way you're talking, what you're saying is, I'm supposed to go out of business, to sit back and wait until the lawsuit and then try to recoup. What if the lawsuit goes bad? What if a technical error comes out and a lawsuit gets dismissed by on some technicality, which has happened to me before? But in the meantime, I went out of business. I closed down. I lost everything. No, I continued to stay open. I know I'm right. Why the city wouldn't capitulate, I don't know. The mayor, you see how personal the mayor sounded on TV? Did you hear
I
that?
understand. I understand
Okay.
exactly.
So I'm
Go
the
ahead.
little guy here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Do you know how many people would have went out of business? Do you know how many people would have stopped? Some people would there's a couple places on the street that did leave. But I'm saying, if like what if the mayor had just used his power, got out of his petty zestiness, and put two police officers here? What if the police chief, what if the police director had made it his plan, his entertainment zone safety plan? He knows every weekend there's a couple hundred people here. Everybody, the whole city knows that. Why did the police director not put no police here? These are the arguments that are going on in federal court right now.
I
Like,
understand.
the
I
people don't. But you
understand.
just asked me, why didn't I shut down? I'm saying,
Okay.
and I did all that. I did file a suit. These arguments are going on right now, and I think that there's going to come a day that one day there's going to be a jury going, wow, not only did you do this to Mr. Fortune and this, that, and the other, you set up such a dangerous area yourself. You didn't provide police, and you did it on purpose because the man beat you, because the man understands, because he's not the fucking knucklehead that you want him to be. Like that's how I took it. That's what's been going on. I could have capitulated. I could have shut up. I could have went. I had assets that I could just go back to Florida. Again, I
So
get obsessed with things sometimes, and sometimes obsessed with winning is not a bad thing. But who knows what the side things happen? Did I anticipate me and my battle with the mayor would create a kill zone where two people have died and five people have been shot?
and that's my point. That's what I got. Two more questions before we close out. My next question is like, when is that point gonna come where both of y'all gonna look in the mirror and ask yourself, how has this worked out so far? Because
Again, I don't
at
feel
some
like I
point,
should look in the mirror. I'm not looking in the mirror about that. No, I
you
can
just
see.
told me
I can
five
see out
people
my
got shot.
window.
You
I
just
can
told me
see
five people got shot and two people were dead. And
here,
you had
outside,
and
outside.
I understand that. But my point is, if you're not open, those people are not outside.
I
No,
don't know what.
and listen, and
But I
listen,
don't know.
listen.
Listen,
I'm not saying it's totally your fault. If he was on here, I would say the same thing to him. If the police is there, those people wouldn't have got shot. I would say the same thing to him.
listen.
But
I have a business. Listen, nobody said that when there were 24-hour Denny's around. No one said that when there were 24-hour South Broad Street diner, right? Listen, I grew up, and I told you where I grew up. I'm gonna bring in something too. When I was in my young 20s, there were like three old black men that I loved them. I looked up to all of them. It was Mr. Hodges. He owned a place called the Whippoorwill in Lawnside. There are people maybe in your audience around my age that remember the Whippoorwill. The Whippoorwill didn't close until the early 2000s, right? But it was there since the 60s. All right. So, and his name was Mr. Hodges. There was Mr. Holmes's too. Mr. Holmes owned Holmes's Lounge in 27th Street in Camden. They stayed open late. There was really restaurants. Both of them were restaurants, but at nighttime they turned into clubs. They turned into music. People came there, vibed, got food. There's two other places actually. There's a place in Laurel Springs right now. It's still open, it's still a club. It's just something else right now. Where you trying to find a bathroom? Right.
they're telling we almost
Oh,
done. Tell them we almost done.
I was doing a podcast. My bad. It's okay. I'm sorry. So part of my business plan was to create something, a model. I already had a model. I had a successful model from my young 20s. And even when I was in the army, I was stationed at Fort Hood, and I mean Fort Bragg, my bad. I was
Mm-hmm.
at Fort Bragg, and I used to go off onto the economy. That was called. I used to leave base and go hang out places, right? And there was a place called the 301 Club. It was about 20 miles outside of town. It was back in the woods. And every black person from the area that was hanging out until 5, 6 in the morning used to go there. It was a big place. I don't remember the guy's name. I don't remember his name. But again, this was the model I saw. And I know that there's an audience for it. As a business plan, as a business model, I had a pretty good business plan, business model. This should have been a nice, fat, after hour nice club. I could have maybe raised up some standards here, there, and the other, made it more exclusive. But other than that, this became the spot, the hot spot, and I wanted it to be the hot spot. And by law, I was legal. Everything would have worked except for the city support wasn't there. There should have been, like I said, by law, there should have been at least a police presence. They could have done all kinds of other things, you know. Listen, I pay for people to clean the street here every morning, but do I think I was obligated by law to clean the streets? No, the city, but I'd leave out of here 6, 7 o'clock in the morning or whatever. I'd come back at 10 o'clock in the morning. It would be trash everywhere. So, as a good neighbor, as a part of my own business plan, I cleaned it all up. I still thought that was the city's responsibility, but I did it. And if I was allowed to hire a street team of security to take over the streets, would I do it? Could I do it? Probably, but that's not legal. That's not law. It's the city's property. It's the city. It's it's to me. It's always been ridiculous that this is the argument I have. Me, a career criminal. You know, I've sold weed openly. I've sold weed illegally. I got DEA numbers. You know, I've been rated by the DEA. I have the high intensity drug task force. Everything. I've dealt with them all, and I'm the one calling for police. Like, this is unreal. I couldn't script this. I couldn't
So
script
I
this.
got I got to ask you my final question.
Mm-hmm.
You been in the weed game, you selling drugs for all of those years. I know you didn't heard all the stories. You heard about the Nicky Barnes. You heard about you from South Jersey. You heard about the midget Molly guy. I know you
I
heard
knew
about
him.
yeah,
I
okay,
knew him.
so you knew midget Molly. I know you heard about BMF when the FBI guy came up and I mean the cop said every time he saw them on that billboard he wanted to lock them up. I know you heard about like the midget Molly with the crown. I know you heard about Times Square, what's name on the Time magazine, or the New York cover, whatever Nicky Barnes was on. Then you seen, I know you saw when the guy told John Gotti, sometimes you gotta duck. Why do you think that you're gonna be the only person that's gonna be able to throw everything in the government face and think that it's you just gonna skate off without nothing happening?
Listen, things have happened. I've taken jabs. I've taken it. I've given them out too, and I find it ironic that you'd say John Gotti. To
No,
me,
because I
John
heard him
the
say
G,
that.
yeah, but to me, John Gotti, like, brilliant, man. He won everything. You know how they got John Gotti? They did a foul. They took his lawyers away, charged his lawyers, left him defenseless, and then fucked him. Right. So like, and I know that sounds bad. And I'm not saying I'm rooting for the guy. I was rooting for the mobster, but I can still see it. You know, there's two things. I'm gonna extend your show just a little bit if you let me.
Go
There's
ahead.
two other things that happened in my life to change my life.
Mm-hmm.
Watching the movie Roots when I was in seventh grade changed my
Mm-hmm.
whole life. Had me changing religion, having me looked at white people and life different. So we're not gonna have that conversation right now. That could be another
Mm-hmm.
day. But it changed the way I wanted to think religiously. It changed all that, right? But the next thing, as far as a movie or something goes, was I got out of the army in 1990, and that summer, me and my brother watched Goodfellas.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When I watched Goodfellas, these are white boys, Italians, whatever. And this at the same time, all the boys in the hoods movies and all that were coming out
Mm-hmm.
too. But what they was doing in Goodfellas to make money, I was loving it. They was in the interstate truck
Mm-hmm.
theft, all that. Listen, I
Mm-hmm.
became a truck driver. I became a truck driver based on that movie. I made hundreds of thousands of dollars off of whole trucks disappearing. You know, not to get totally in it. I know statute of limitations and everything is gone away long time ago. Can't nobody
Yeah,
get
I
me for
understand
nothing.
that.
Right.
I
But
understand that. All
that's
right.
that's that was one of the things that I was doing in the early 90s. That's what got me to Arizona. That's what got me. I was considering myself a smuggler then. I didn't even consider myself a drug dealer. I considered myself a smuggler. And I was transporting large amounts of marijuana back and forth from the West Coast to the East Coast. And in between that, there was a few truck issues that happened that whatever. Like, I wrote about it in my book too before. I've had people that say like, "Yo, you really wrote about that?" I was like, "Yeah, this statute of limitation been gone." But anyway, um, I forget where I was going. Why I even brought those
No,
two
but
things up.
so for the Gotti thing, what you said, like the reason he got was they are a machine. They don't run out of money. So the way that they can investigate and the stuff that they could do is it just doesn't stop. So
But
what
I'm
I'm
not
trying,
doing anything like that right now. I'm
I
just
know,
trying to
but
operate a business.
what I'm trying to get you to understand is that you purposely put yourself in a situation where you said you went to this spot to cause this kind of noise. Like you brought too much attention.
And
Let,
then I
let me finish.
won.
I know, but let me finish. Let me finish. You brought too much attention onto yourself. So now it turns into this big thing. Meanwhile, you arguing your point, they arguing their point. But and only mind you, I wouldn't have cared about none of this until I saw the big gatherings outside, the people getting shot and all of that. And then the one thing I saw you do when you put the limelight on City Hall and with the thing saying City Hall is dumb or something you put on there from your thing. I don't know if that was you. Somebody had
Yeah,
the
no, it's
spotlight.
me. It's me.
All right, so that's
Yes,
what I'm
that was
saying. That kind of stuff as a businessman, it doesn't prosper you. I'm saying like
to who?
it's like what drug
No,
dealers used to say. It's all right. Let me give you an example. It's like with like you talking about the mob and all that kind of stuff, right? The reason the mob used to say they didn't want to deal drugs is because people were gonna be dying in terms of people shooting and all that, and that was gonna mess up money. As a businessman, with that stuff that you're doing, it's not prosperous to make money. Your whole
yes, it
thing is
was.
okay.
Like you're not thinking about how I have thought about things. You know, I have people who come here and like me. They like my story. They like my backstory. They like all the fact that I'm this guy that opened up across the street from City Hall. Like I got a sign that I project on City Hall. I can change it up when I want. I left it. It's been what it says right now. It's been there for a year, and it says, um, "Our city government sucks." And trust me, I've talked to a couple of the city council people that I like about it. To me, it's a First Amendment thing. To me, it was it was a jab. But when the city takes their jabs, I'm all fucked up. I get tickets, I get this, I get that. They do what they do. They have that power, man. It's like throwing a pebble at a rhinoceros. You know, charging it. There's the rhinoceros across the street, and I threw a little pebble by putting this little flashlight on it with a statement on it. It's free speech. That's what it
Yeah,
is. In
yeah.
court, they tried to get it taken down. And the judge said it's exercising free speech. No. Do you know, because I send a whole bunch of emails to the city council and the mayor, that the city's attorney in federal court in this case, as part of this case, at one point argued for the judge for me not to communicate no more. And they acknowledged that it was a fine line between me being a the taxpayer in this city, me being a resident of this city, and communicating with my administration. But they wanted to argue for me to shut up, not to talk. I'm not allowed at press conferences no more either because I come and I ask different questions, so I can't come into press conferences no more. That's a whole nother lawsuit that nobody's
Mm.
catching their attention yet. But this is the city has all the power. Me having these events just being open, if they put two police officers here, we would never had these problems. They're obligated to put those two police officers there. The fact that the mayor is retaliating because I filed a lawsuit because I won the right to stay open at 24 hours, so he's not gonna put no police officers here.
So
Listen, they was
I
having
just
blue flus. They was having blue flus when people were arguing defund the police or Black Lives Matter movement protests, and then the next week all the police wouldn't show up and all that and made national news. Blue flu. Listen, in this city, we got the mayor who decided not to have police cover this little spot because of this guy, me. And two
and
people died here, five people been
mhm.
shot,
And
and
that's
just
my
the,
concern.
and just the idea that the police that the mayor did that, like if I stood outside and started just throwing shit at people and hitting people. Somebody would say, "Well, you're throwing shit, and you're hitting people. You like this is what you set up. You did this, right, or whatever, right? If I set up a, whatever, maybe that's not a good analogy, but for the police, the mayor, to not police this area, and he acknowledged it on TV, two network televisions, Channel 6, ABC, and Channel 3, CBS. Like, even their reporters have all questioned me about this afterwards and wanted to see what I argued. I sent one person 11 emails where over the last 2 years I bring up the fact that the mayor retaliated and then and pulled the police and then blames me when something happens.
I understand everything you're saying, and in closing, first thing I want to say is I'm not pro City Hall. I'm not pro politics. I grew up in politics. I understand what comes with it. I understand the wickedness that's involved in it. I understand all of that. So I'm going to let you understand that first. I'm
No, I
arguing.
respect that. I
I'm
totally
I'm
respect
coming.
that. You're
I'm coming
supposed
on
to
the
ask me tough questions. I
yeah,
get
but
it.
yeah,
Yeah, I
I'm
get it.
coming. I'm coming on the strength of the people that's dying and the people that's getting hurt and their families that's suffering. I lost a wife that got murdered, so I understand how I feel when somebody dies like that. You get what I'm saying? So I'm
Yeah.
just saying that at some point we it's something has to happen. Somebody has to be the bigger person, and I understand your stance, how you felt. You already said it, so we don't got to go 15 more minutes with it. I'm just saying in closing that something has to happen where somebody stands up and says enough is enough. Like, I'm gonna be the person to bow out because lives are more important than me being right. And if he's sitting there, I say the same thing to him. You get what I'm saying? Somebody has to stand up and
So,
say, I gotta do what I gotta do because these people's lives are more important than me being right. I'm not saying you wrong. I'm not saying he wrong. I'm saying that somebody has to stand up and say that.
well,
Point
here's what
blank
I think.
period.
You know who I think is going to be that person?
Oh.
Similar to the Bible story with King Solomon. Somebody stood in, right?
Uh-huh.
So in this case, I think it's going to be federal judge Clink. Oh man, now I feel bad. I just mispronounced his name. But
Okay.
my case is before the federal judge K.
Okay.
And you know, like this is so ridiculous. You know I had these block parties. I did block parties every year, right?
Mm-hmm. I
Okay.
mean, I'm not really. I'm in recovery. I got 7.5 years of alcohol free, so
Hmm.
I'm totally not with the. I don't think that you
I
need any
respect all that. I
mind
respect it.
altering substances. So
I
that's a whole
respect
nother
that.
conversation. I just wanted to talk to you about the thing, the like what's going on. I also believe that like under the influences, it leads to a lot of this different stuff. You know what I mean? So,
I
but
don't think any of these incidents were either drug or alcohol related. Do you know that? This
so you
last
think the
incident,
guy
these
that
boys.
so the guy that shot it up, you think he was sober when he did that?
No, but he came here on some other wacky shit. Like listen, potheads and alcoholics move slow. They really do. If
But
you was to stand and observe, right?
alcohol
Yeah,
brings
but
that
this guy
rage.
didn't. He wasn't on no rage. He was on
Okay.
some weirdo shit. If you
Okay.
looked
All
at
right.
certain people,
Wow. He went off. I guess it was time for him to go. But I hope I asked a lot of questions that you guys wanted to hear asked tonight. You know what I'm saying? I'm always gonna be straight up and right down the middle. Like I'm not into the politics thing or anything like that. And if the mayor was to come on, I ask him the same kind of questions. Because at some point, people are dying, man. People are getting shot. People are getting hurt. At some point, somebody got to ask themselves, how has this worked out so far? How can I go to sleep at night knowing that somebody's son is dead, somebody's daughter is dead, and it's all because I don't want it. My pride is so much that I can't either put police out there or I can't just say, you know what, I'm gonna be closed these hours. At some point, the people have to come first, man. The people have to come first. The safety of somebody, son or daughter, has to come first. The same urgency of that kid allegedly getting killed by his friends or what happened, Noel, whatever his name is, like, because I don't be really into the news that heavy like that. But him, it's the same urgency needs to happen for those people that lost their lives on that street. But we are so desensitized to it that we don't even put that much emphasis into when people from where we at get killed in those kind of situations. But they need that same urgency that guy case is having all over the news and all over the world. So I want one of these grown men to step up and say, it's over, man. I put up the white flag because these people's lives are more important than my pride. So this is Mike. Enjoy the rest of your night. Shalom.